here to represent the European Federation of Ethical and Alternative Banks, FEBEA. So I must do a question. In your opinion, Professor Solari, according to this, Michael Sandel gave us different concepts, show us different concepts of ethicality. But according to this social economy concept, this social economy idea of ethics, in your opinion, which should be the rule in the market of a bank which would be defined as ethical?
The circulation of money and the problem of financing is fundamental. We found ourselves again in the same situation we had at the beginning of the second part of the 19th century, when many scholars began to consider this problem of assuring credit to those who need it. We can mention Proudhon, Schulz, degli, and then in Italy we had Luzzati here in Padova, who founded the first popular bank in Lodi. And Toniolo, the same Toniolo, was concerned with the birth of cooperative or popular banks. So with the change in the economy in the last 30, 40 years, we have favored the centralization, the concentration and the liquidification of capitals, of financial capital. And most of the banks had to tackle this situation and develop their their capabilities to deal with this situation. Governments are as well in difficulties in accessing and then stabilizing the access to this liquid capital. But the territory, the small firms or families have more and more need to be financed in their everyday operation. And in the last years I see a development of in the conception of what the bank should do or what should be, and this stress in capitalization, in the reduction of risk, and so my feeling is that the bank is far from the original task of the bank, which is financing circulating capital of every business or financing some investment by families. And therefore I have difficulty to understand this effort in reducing the extent of popular banks or cooperative banks and transforming them in a way that makes them more detached from the social fabric. And I don't understand this emphasis on capitalization. Of course, capitalization reduces a little bit risk, but only in part. The best reduction in risk is the knowledge, the ability to forecast the future, to understand your clients, to understand what they are. So I think that this evolution, this very technical evolution, which could be good for large banks, would not be a good solution for small banks of the territory. In my opinion, we need small banks financing the circulating capital of small firms and family investment. This will remain an essential need for a banking system or a section of the banking system. This is the first, of course, point. The second point is that I am very critical for what concerns as regards the credit to consumption. So still today in moral philosophy, lending money for consumption is quite a critical issue, because you cannot reduce wages and on the other side lend money to the people to consume. You can lend money to the people who invest, but not for consumption. Of course, you can finance the circulating capital of the family, no? Small consumption could be financed. I buy the TV or I buy the car, and that's all. But developing too much the lending for consumption, in my view, presents some moral problems. So I prefer to see wages rising and not developing this aspect of finance, which is quite critical. Then the third point, of course, we need also some certification that our money deposited in banks is not used for activities that are not conform to the common good. I think this is still an important. So the ethical bank, in my opinion, should be developed, should be reinforced, and I don't think that the normal lending to virtuous activities is less profitable. As of course you don't have big deals in weapons or other critical kind of resources which produce, of course, large profits in single transactions, but I think that with the present day interest rates, the most important fact for many small firms is to have to borrow some money, and they would be happy to pay it also a good interest rate. So lending to the small activities is should be still profitable compared to other activities. This is my point of view. So I surely favor a development of banking, and I would also be favorable to have a fence between large universal banks and the small banks of a territory. And I'm very concerned with this tendency when we need some money to harvest from the popular banks of the territory in different ways that are always possible.
So the interview ends here. Thank you, Professor Stefano Solari. Thank you, Luca Sandonà, his assistant. And thank you to University of Padova for this interesting time talking about social economy and the political economy in general. From FEBEA and University of Padova, it's all, and bye.